Greetings in the name of Yahwah, the only name given among men whereby we must be saved. We're going over to the book of Daniel. We're going to the book of Daniel 9:24 of the book of Daniel 9:24. We're going to talk a little bit about the end time. There is so much to it, that I'm just going to put some things out there because of the day and hour we're living in right now to watch for. The book of Daniel 9:24 reads, 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression and to make an end of sins and to make reconciliation for the iniquity and to bring in everlasting righteousness and to seal up the vision and the prophecy and to anoint the most holy. Now, the day and hour that we're living in, you're either you usually are going to fit in what is known as pre, mid, or post. Again, you're going to fit in either pre, that means a coming, or they call a rapture, before the 7 years, or the mid, which means in the middle of the 7 years, the rapture takes place, or the post that goes all the way through the whole 7 years. Now then you got different views on that, of what people believe. But let me go back to what is known as a pre-tribulation. Pre-tribulation believes that Yahweh comes back partly. He just comes back so far into the clouds, gets his church out of here. And I'm going to use this as an example. Right here to my left, and if you're looking at this, what we're looking at, it's going to be to your left. We're going to start the 7 years from here, and this is going to be the end of the 7 years. So the first year would start here, the middle would be here, and the end would be here. A person that believes in a pre-tribulation rapture believes that the rapture takes place somewhere right here at this time. And then, for 7 years, they're in heaven rejoicing. And then at the end of the 7 years, Yahweh will come back fully. Here, he only come back to the clouds. Here, he's going to come all the way back to the earth, because they separate the day of the Lord and the day of God certain ways. So that means that a person that believes in the rapture takes place here, they usually believe that a covenant is confirmed here. The rapture takes place. And then in the middle of the 7 years, which would be 3.5, the anti-Messiah comes in, he sits in the temple. Because the temple was built somewhere from the first year, somewhere within the first 3.5 years. And then after this, you have tribulation, but the real wrath of Yahweh doesn't start till over here. Don't get the wrath of Yahweh and tribulation mixed up. And that's what a lot of people do. Now, people that believe in a mid-tribulation, they believe the 7 starts here, but the rapture does not take place till here. So they're here once the temple's built, and then when the man of sin comes into the temple, the rapture takes place. Then there's only 3.5 years left. Then you have those that believes that the church is going to go through I really can't say the whole 7 years, because there's a teaching with what is known as the post-tribulation, or believing the church goes through the tribulation. A lot of them takes the 7 years, and the ministry of the Messiah lasted 3.5 years. Then he died, and then the rest of what's left of that 7 years is going to be where the last 3.5 years is to take place, and what they would call the Lord would come back at the end here, because they take the whole 7 years, split it up, and let the Messiah work in the first 3.5, and then the last 3.5 is only used at the end time. That's going to give you the last 3.5 years. And usually the people that believes in a pre-tribulation rapture, they're usually closer to understanding the end time than the people that believes in the post-tribulation. The mid is really not a real strong doctrine today, as I think it was at one time. So we're just going to deal with pre or post. All right. Now here in the book of Daniel, Daniel's prophecy was set up upon thy people. This people is talking about Israel. This is not talking about the United States of America. And I'm going to show you why I'm talking about this. First of all, you find the word called Shavuim, Shivim. The word Shavuim is the word for weeks. The word Shivim, matter of fact, Kathy, put it right here for me. This is basically the word. Matter of fact, I can get this over here just a little bit here. Let me see if I can help us out here a little bit on this here. Okay. All right. This here is actually the week of 7 or 70. When you read the 70th week, really you're reading the weeks of 70. Shavuim, Shivim. Actually, it would be reversed, the weeks of 70. All right. Now, these 70 weeks was part of a prophecy that when they come out of Babylon, Yahweh started this is where the 70 weeks are determined upon to finish the transgression. This is where all this stuff started happening. And they started building again Jerusalem and so forth within this period of time. And it takes you, matter of fact, it will take you all the way. This would be actually what you would call 490 years. When you divide this up, 70 weeks of Daniel. Daniel's prophecy, along with the prophecy that John had in the book of Revelation, all of these prophecies are set up on 30-day days. They're not set up on 29-30 or 30-29. All that stuff was two schools, Hillel, and there was another in Shammai, I think is what it was. These two schools, actually it was Hillel, they changed all this. And they had reasons to. And I don't want to get into all that, but you can look and see that they really just about had to. Okay. But the prophecies are set up on 30-day days. That's how the prophecies are set up. So if you take 70 times 7, you're going to have 490 days or 490 years. And that's what we're dealing with here. Okay. I want to go over real quick, Sister Kate. We're going to go to verse 27. of the same chapter, verse 27. All right, here is a word where it says, "And he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week." Now this is where I believe that a lot of people are messing up, especially in this end time. First of all, there is really, again, you got several groups. After the time of the apostles, you go back and study this. You have 3 papers out. I mean, you got them papers out. What is the, have you got your microphone there? I want you to read, Sister Kathy, and give the word of this particular group, what they believe. Now, you got to understand, after the time of the apostles, some people believe that all of these prophecies in the 24th chapter of the book of Matthew, the 21st chapter of the book of Luke, and so, and I think it may be the 16th chapter of the book of Mark. I'm not sure on that, but they believe that all this is fulfilled. The only thing that's not fulfilled is Yahweh coming back. They believe also that the whole book of Revelation is fulfilled, all but Yahweh coming back. Those that believe this never sees a future, even in the day that we're living in now. They never see a future for Israel. They don't see none of this, a covenant being confirmed in the future. It's already happened. I want you to read and read it clear and give me the names of these groups.
Okay,
read
the first one is preterism. Preterism is a Christian eschatological view which interprets some or partial preterism or all full preterism, prophecies of the Bible as events which have already happened. This school of thought interprets the book of Daniel as referring to events that happened in the 2nd century BC, while seeing the prophecies of Revelation as events that happened in the 1st century AD.
Keep up with that. See that? This is the school of, when they have this kind of school of thought, they see no future for Israel. Go ahead, Sister Kate.
Preterism holds that ancient Israel finds its continuation or fulfillment in the Christian church at the destruction of Jerusalem in AD 70.
What they mean by that is this, is that Yahweh really quits dealing with Israel as a nation. He only deals with them as a church. They see no future for nothing of Israel. Now you've got some that there's other views. They are so against the Jews that's in Israel right now because of these teachings. The day and hour we're living in right now, the way the end time is being taught, and I'm going to show you something here in just a few minutes, what I'm talking about on the end time. People are getting caught up with this stuff. If people knew their Bibles, studied their Bibles, they could not quote verses. Now, if you believe that all this has been done, that's good. I mean, you see no future for nothing. All you waiting on is the coming of the Creator of heaven and earth. That's all you're doing. Continue reading that a little bit, Sister Kate.
The term preterism comes from the Latin praeter, spelled P-R-A-E-T-E-R, which Webster's 1913 dictionary lists as a prefix denoting that something is past or beyond. Preterism teaches that either all or a majority of Bible prophecy had come to pass by AD 70. Adherents of preterism are commonly known as preterists.
Okay, we're just going to stop. We're going to read the rest of the other two right now. I wanted to point this out because of this reason. The reason that you find that people are so anti-Semitic against Israel as a nation today is because of this particular teaching. Now, again, if you're pre, you see a future for Israel, but at the end. If you're mid, you usually see a future for Israel at the end. Now, if you are post and you believe that the first 3.5 years fulfilled in the Messiah's ministry, you have no room to believe what you believe for Israel, because you have destroyed what is being taught. So all of a sudden you just in existence, somewhere something's going to happen. That's usually if you are a post-tribulationist. You believe that the first 3.5 years was fulfilled in the Messiah's ministry, and then all of a sudden the 3.5 years starts, but you can never prove how and where. Now, not everybody that believes in a post-tribulation, because I believe in a post-tribulation. I believe that the church, the assembly, will not see the coming of Yahweh till here at the very end. But there is a full 7 years that we're looking for. What starts that full 7 years? Now you can get on here, watch these videos, and disagree with you can disagree all you want. But you can't take Scripture and back up what you're saying. Because when you disagree in one area, that area is going to trap you in other verses. Let me give you an example. You see right here, we're here where it says, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. Now, right here is the word called berit. I want you to put it right here for me real quick. It's the word for covenant is what this is. Now, this covenant, when you look at the word right here called vahig bir, put it right here, it means confirm. But really, when you look at it, it means to have strength, to strengthen something that's there. This is really pretty much how it's used. So the word vahig bir, barit, larabim, and this is where it means, and he shall confirm the covenant with many. And you see this word right here. It's the Hebrew word called shavuah echad. It's the word 1 week. Now, I want to point this out about 1 week. Because if you see no future of Israel, oh, this has already happened. If you are a post-tribulationist, believe the church going to go through the church going through the tribulation, and the tribulation starts here, but the wrath of Yahweh is really more at the end. But right after the anti-Messiah comes in, and the middle he identifies himself. This is really the tribulation period. But the wrath of Yahweh don't happen to here. When you start really studying this, Book of Daniel explains this, Joel explains this, and so forth. So the whole 7 years is not tribulation, and it's not the wrath of Yahweh. Okay, once you can understand, but if you believe that this covenant is still in the future, then you can have knowledge of a lot of stuff and quit getting confused on things. We believe, the Bible teaches, that there is a 7 years that is still ahead of us now. That means that none of this and this 1 week hasn't happened yet. But we believe that the Messiah that it teaches, that the Messiah would have died, and once he died in what would be known as the 69th week. Then that means that when that 69th week and he died, it stopped. That means from the time that the Mashiach died, somewhere within that time frame, and in the future of us, the other last 7 years will start up somewhere. This is what confuses a lot of people. They can't understand how you can have such a long, dark time that all of a sudden Yahweh stops a time clock and don't start the time clock back up to way later. The only way you couldn't believe that, you would have to believe that all of this has already been fulfilled. If you believe that the Messiah fulfilled the first 3.5 years, and you believe that the last 3.5 is in the future, then you have a gap period. The only way you cannot have a gap period is you got to believe that 1 week here is over with. It's already happened. That's the only way you can do it. There's nothing else. All of this is fulfilled. But I'm talking to people that wants to know the truth and believe the truth. It says that he should confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. I don't want to get into the rest of all this other. I want to deal with the covenant and 1 week. If you say that you believe in a 7-year period that is the last 7 years is still somewhere in the future for us. Now, let me say it this way. We're doing this video right now. Before we get through this video, something could happen that starts the last 7 years. It would actually take, he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. What actually, when you start breaking this down, what starts the last 7 years is where a covenant is strengthened. Matter of fact, I want to see some translations on the word for confirmed. Scroll up here, Sister Kat, if you don't mind. Slow down right there. Okay, right here. In Young's, scroll up to here, to right here, for this Young's for me, Kat. Hold it. Come on up a little bit more. Right there. He says, and he have strengthened. See, he uses the word strengthened. Because, here's one in the complete Jewish Bible, they use the word, and he will make a strong covenant with the leaders for 1 week. Take me back to my English. Scroll up. So, what we're going to be looking at is confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. If you're one of those, and you believe this, I'm going to show you something why you can quit jumping on every little thing the internet says. This is only for people that wants to know the truth. Pull up the moons for me real quick. All right, let me get this over. Just hold on. Don't you do nothing. Let me get this over. I'll have to do it myself here. Keep from messing something up. Okay. All right. Now, y'all remember back in 4/15 in 2014, the Passover, and how they were talking about in the 10th month of 10/8 of 2014, at Sukkot, they would be 2 blood moons. In 2014, both of these, in other words, you had 2 feasts that Yahweh looked like supernaturally let 2 blood moons occur at the time of the Passover and at the time of Sukkot. That is supernatural. People went haywire. Started writing books. And then in the Passover of 2015, the fourth month, the fourth day, the 15th year, 2015, on Passover, and also in Sukkot in 2015. They had the same occurrence, 2 blood moons. 2 years straight falling on the Passover in 2015, Sukkot Passover 2015, 14, and Sukkot 2014, and Passover 2015, and Sukkot of 2015. And these 4 blood moons occurred, really these 2 blood moons, or 4 blood moons here, occurred on the Passover and Sukkot of 2014. And the 2 blood moons occurred in the Passover and Sukkot of 2015. And people went wild. They started talking about America. They was talking about how everything was going to happen and everything was going to fall apart. But what they failed to understand was what the Word of Yahweh said. That's what they failed to understand. We understand that the stars, the sun, the moon, they're given for signs. But you got to stay with the main sign, which is the Word of Yahweh. These were supernatural occurrences that happened. They occurred. This was supernatural for this to happen. But you know what people done? They went crazy. They started writing books, getting big revelations. Then when it's all over with, they were people that was just totally discouraged because they were prophesying that we would be in tribulation. Right now, America would have failed apart. Right now, it has nothing to do with America. It doesn't matter if the United States falls flat. Israel is what you've got to keep your eyes on, your ears tuned to. In Israel, not America. Then I think sometimes in September, last September, or this September, I think it was the 22nd or something, they had the occurrence. Matter of fact, Sister Kathy, go over for me real quick to the book of Revelation, 12th chapter. I have this, but I'm not going to pull it up because I'd have to take a little time to do it, and I don't want to do it. In the book of Revelation, 12 and 1, now, in the book of Revelations, 12 and 1, you was hearing all over the internet about how the stars would line up. And they would line up exactly the way it is in 12 and 1. And I can believe it. I can believe it. It's like the 4 blood moons. They were supernatural. But you can't get out of the Word. I told people here in services in 2014 and 2015, before all this happened, I said, there's nothing's going to happen. I said, the Word is not lining up. He's just showing signs. People took off these signs that were supposed to know the Word and failed. The Word's not going to fail. So around September the 22nd, another sign happened, which I believe, if this happened, I'm not sure about it, but I could believe it would be a supernatural sign. But leave the supernatural sign alone. God was sending signs. This 12 and 1 of Revelation, and there shall appear a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars. They say scientifically this is supposed to line up. I can believe it. If it did, I can believe it. But the only thing is this don't happen until the middle of Daniel's 70th week. People takes off. That means if you go quoting this, reading this, and believing this, that means you believe that we were already in the first 3.5 years of Daniel's prophecy. Of that 1 week now. That 1 week covers 7 years. So you would have had to believe that by this and the signs that they were saying in September was taking place, then you would have to believe that we already were 3.5 years in the last week of the 70th week. People went haywire on this stuff again. Take me back up to my blood moons again. I got this off the internet. It says the sun will be turned into darkness and the moon to blood before the coming of the great and dreadful day of Yahweh. If they were taking this prophecy to fit in this, they missed it. Because this darkness and moon doesn't happen till way over here in the latter part of Daniel's last week. Remember the 1 week, the 7 years? This here doesn't take place till way over here. That means that people would have had to believe that we'd already been in the last week of Daniel's prophecy for at least between 5 and 6 years. And when you get technical, really, this is not going to take place till really right close there at his time. So you just about went through the whole 6 years and already gone into the 7th year, give or take, for this to even happen. And people fall for this kind of stuff. All right, Sister Kathy, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to pull up my paper for this. I have that other paper that we left. Okay. All right, scroll up for me here if you don't mind it. Okay, stop right here. I've got a time right here is where this is the last week. This would be, right here would be about the middle of the last week. This here would be where Yahweh would come back. This right here is where the covenant, somewhere within this time frame, the covenant would be confirmed. 3.5 years later, within here to here, the temple in Israel will be built. The anti-Mashiach comes on the scene. Now, if you believe that all this is fulfilled, none of this applies to you. If you believe in the last 7 years, then don't let all this stuff shake you. All these signs that y'all were sending shake you. What they're doing, they're shaking you and get you to go over to the 12th chapter of the book of Daniel, book of Revelation, and get you believing something that what they have to do is get you to believe that you already done fulfilled the first 2.5 years. Then if you took the blood moons, that the blood moons, all this would be shown as darkness, then them blood moons then would put you way over there. On the quotation, what I quoted to you, what was read a while ago. But if you believe the truth, quit being shook up with all this kind of stuff. Quit letting all these signs move you. Believe those signs. If they would have just left those 4 blood moons alone the way Yahweh had them up there, but they didn't. They had to go write their books. They had to go and make big revelations that's failed, and when this happens, it destroys confidence in people in the Word. This is what's happened. Yahweh's got a people, brother, that's going to know the truth, and the truth is going to make them free. They're not going to be tossed with every little sign that's happening in the heavens. It's good to believe it, but stay with the Word. If you knew anything about the Word, there's no way you could believe that Revelation 12:1 was fixing to be fulfilled. All right. In the book of Daniel, I've got some stuff here I want to read before I close out. I'm going to probably pick up a lot of this later on in some other broadcasts. But some of it is just, it's just hard to get into every little thing. I want to point out something. This is your last 7 years. Now, you've got to believe that there's a last 7 years of this, or this video is not going to do you no good. But if you do believe it, then you're going to quit believing every time somebody writes a book or somebody pops up and talks about signs. The sign is Israel. The word of Yahweh using Israel as a sign in this end time. When you deal with this word time, and you deal with it in Daniel 7:25, Daniel 12:7, Revelations 12:14, you deal with the word times. The times means, actually, it's, if you want to say it this way, it's 42 months or 3.5 years. Times, and dividing of time. When you deal with 40 and 2 months, Revelation 11:2, 40 and 2 months, Revelation 13:5, it's really the same as time, dividing of time. Scroll this up for me right here, Sister Catherine. I want y'all to keep all this in mind. You see this here. We're putting everything, all of this from here, everything I'm talking about, time, dividing of time, everything I'm talking about down through here, it's going to fit within the last 7 years. Not here back, but here to where Yahweh comes back at the end of the 7 years. But you got to get 7 years started. 7 years haven't started. But when you start believing all these, like the blood moons and all that, and you start and watching stuff, their teachings already got you into 7 years already started, or in the middle of the 7 years. There's people that literally believe that we're in tribulation right now. And they believe 2018, Yahweh's coming back. This is why you hear all this stuff about the coming. I'm going to say it like King James said, talk about the coming of the Lord. Coming of the Lord. I've heard this for years. I've heard this ever since I was just a child. But once Yahweh Almighty visited me and showed me a difference on this, what to watch for, He cleared everything up for me. I had to learn as I go. I'm in the process of learning now. But it's never failed. You find 2,300. That's 2,300 days. Daniel 8:14. All of this has got to fit in here. Now, I don't really want to get into a lot of this right now. I will do it in the future. Main thing I'm pointing out now is time, months, 2,300 days. And scroll this up here, right here for me, Sister Catherine. 1,290. Book of Revelation, Daniel 12:11. 1,335. Daniel 12:12. 1,260. Revelation 11:3. 1,260. Revelation 12:6. Scroll on up a little bit more. That may be the end of it, right? Scroll back down for me a little bit. Okay, scroll back down where I can see my thing I've got here. Okay. All of this that I just give you as a number, sister, if you will study this out, it's going to fit within this last 7 years. This is where the last week or the last 7 years are the 1 week from here to here. I don't know what Korea is going to do. Korea is not the sign. If Korea gets blown off the map, or America gets blown off the map, Yahweh's sign, that's not what's going to start the last 7 years. Israel is what starts the last 7 years. I believe that Korea better watch it. That's what they better do. But this has nothing to do with the last great war. The last great war is not going to happen till here. And you ain't even got started here to get it started. But people are taking off of this. When you start getting into weeks, one day, you take all this number system. If you're watching this video, I'm sure they're going to put the name and telephone number and everything. You're more than welcome to call me. And I've just thrown something out there so in the next program or videos we make, we'll get in a little bit forward. But you've got to understand the time, the months, 2300, the 290, 260, and months. You've got to understand all this. Without understanding this, you're going to be one of those, every time somebody writes a book, claim they got a revelation, you're going to take off and you're going to be so confused till when the truth comes, you're not going to know how to discern the truth. Yahweh's not coming back tomorrow. We're in 2000, and I've done this years ago. We're in 2017. Take me to the book of Daniel again, 9:27, where we was at. Right before we close out here. I'm going to leave something with you. You see right here, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. I don't know when this is going to start. It might start before I walk out here doing on this video. Something might have happened and they started this covenant. If they did, then it was 7 years fixing to start. That's going to give Israel time to build their temple. The temple's not going to do the church no good. We don't need a temple. We've got the temple of Yahweh's physical human body. But Yahweh has a plan for Israel. And He's going to reveal Himself in the end time to Israel. And He's going to reveal Himself with the same name that we're talking about today. Not Yeshua, not Yehoshua, not Jesus, not Jesus, not Jesus. The prophecies are against it. The prophecies tells you who's coming back. What name they're going to be calling on. And there ain't but one name, the name of Yahweh. Right now in 2017 we're at. If this doesn't start in 2017, that means 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Right now, this earth is still going to be in existence in 2024. You mark down what I'm telling you. Even if the covenant is signed now, and there's 7 years, if you don't count the 17, but you go 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Yahweh Almighty is not coming back right now until 2024. If this don't happen in 2018, then it's going to move it up into year 2025. This, ever when Yahweh sets it, is when it starts. I hate to discourage some of you folks who's been reading these books, but you need to read this book, because you're going to be hearing about all these signs and all this stuff these books do. They're destroying your faith in the Word of Yahweh. I've looked at some of these books. I know I found one of these men contradicted what he really claimed he believed on the end time. Turned right around, contradicted what he'd been teaching. He's been teaching the end time. And little Ike was trying to teach it right. And all of a sudden, they got us shot right into the tribulation on what they're believing. Either they didn't even acknowledge what they were saying. But this is a thing that in 1986, Yahweh Almighty entered a car where I was at and said, "Son, above everything, you stay with my word, for my word is right, and it has not failed." In the 80s, they were doing the same thing. And I told them in the 80s, I said, it will not happen. Through the 90s, they were doing the same thing. I told them, I said, it will not happen unless certain things happen. 2017, we're already there. And I said this before the blood moons come on the scene, when they were saying, and I said, they'll never line up. I said, I believe these 4 blood moons are supernatural. But they cannot fulfill until this happens. He didn't say when you see 4 blood moons or these signs, this here is what? Many for 1 week. You got to get a covenant confirmed with many for 1 week. That's what you're missing, the very simple simplicity of Yahweh. You can't go over there quoting Revelation. People quote Revelation and you don't even have the right to quote it because Revelation is set up within a timing of those last 7 years. And it will show back history of Daniel's prophecy. But people are taking off on this. I pray that y'all will help us all. In these videos, all we're trying to do is expose truth. By exposing truth, it exposes false teaching. I don't believe you have to be confused. I don't believe you have to. This is why you got people. How many within the last 2 or 3 years have declared that the rapture would have already took place? How many in the last 2 or 3 years have declared that we was already in tribulation? Folks, people today have got such a wishy-washy spirit that's got a hold of them that they need to get a hold to the Word of Yahweh that will straighten that thing out in their life. Yahweh's Word is right. No wonder people don't have confidence in the Word of Yahweh today because of all this stuff that's happening. But I'm thankful that Yahweh Almighty back in the 80s, He warned me about watching for all certain things. And I'm thankful that He did. And I tell you what I'm going to do. There's people falling apart. Churches are backing up, backsliding. I want to stand on the firing line when everybody's quit. I want to be preaching the truth when everybody's quit. I want to stand, and the only way I'm going to do it is through the grace and the mercies of Yahweh Almighty. It's the only way I'm going to do it. And I put my whole faith and confidence that Yahweh Almighty will make a way for me to do it. People are falling apart. People are falling apart. Yahweh's got to have somebody that's going to be preaching the truth somewhere. Somebody has got to be preaching the truth when Yahweh comes back, or He's not going to have an assembly. He's got to get us back to the apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers today. Back that brings perfection. And that's why we're going to do all we can to expose all this junk that's out today. There's not but one plan of salvation, and that name, and it was never in the name of Jesus, never in the name of Jesus, never in the name of Jesus, never in the name of Yeshua, and never in the name of Yahushua. Only one name that the prophets gave witness to, and that was the name of Yahweh. So till the next program, Shalom.